morning, guys. So yesterday we have completed our discussion on budget and budgetary control. So today our target will be, first target is overheads, followed by activity based costing. Both are also of good weightage. Together you can expect around 10-12 marks from these topics together. Okay. Because your ABC is nothing but it has it is just continuation of your overheads chapter, correct? So generally they ask both that traditional costing as well as ABC in a same questions. Same question where they will ask two different points. That is the thing. Now shall we start with overheads? First let's discuss bit concept of overheads, then we'll go to question solving. Okay. Now guys, what do you mean by overheads in first place? Overheads we discussed on day one. Indirect expenses, right? Indirect expenses, that is your indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense, together we call it as what? Overheads. Okay. So why this particular topic is there, or what we are going to learn in this particular topic? Listen very carefully. First, you should know the relevance of the topic, right? I mean, of course, in regular class we have already discussed, but you know, I know. You guys have already forgot. Concentrate. Close the door. So, listen how overheads will work. Your direct material, let's say you are producing one product X. That X will have some direct material. X will have some direct labor and X will have some direct expense. These we call it as prime cost. Correct, no? This prime cost is purely and completely related to which product? Product X. So charging this completely to product X makes sense or no? Yes. But now my question is, are these the only expense? No. There will be some indirect material like floor cleaning. You need floor cleaning liquid. Yes or no? Some chemicals. When you are running machine, you need oiling, greasing, all those things. Can you trace exactly with each and every unit what you produce? No way. So indirect material you can't trace. Indirect labor, all your managers, foreman, supervisor, all those people who are not directly related to production, and your other indirect expense like your rent, electricity charges, right, insurance, all those indirect expenses will come. No? Now my question is, all these things can we trace exactly how much is related to X? Can we trace directly how much is related to X? We can't. Okay. So can I say cost of X is just prime cost? No, it is not. Because all these we incurred, which is not direct, I agree. But without incurring this, can you bring in product X into picture here? No. That means, don't you think your cost of X will be nothing but prime cost plus overheads? Yes. Now, how to bring this overhead related to X? Prime cost is very simple. It is directly related to X. So, whatever is related to X, we charge it to X. But what about the overhead? Is it related only to X? No. It is related to all the output what we produce during the period. Yes or no? Now, how to bring it to the X? That's what we call it as overhead of the whole organization will be there. No, the portion of that will be charged to the final product. Portion of that will be charge to the final product, that only we call it as absorption. That only we call it as absorption. Is that clear? A portion of overhead, portion of the whole organization overhead charged to the final product, so that we can determine the cost of the product, that particular activity, that only we call it as absorption, or we call it as recovery. We call it as what? Recovery, or we call it as charging. Call it as charging. Understood? Now, that means, let's say if there are three departments are there, production department, three production departments are there, A, B, C, and there is two service department, accounts, let's say accounts department is there and HR department is there. Now A, B, C are your production department. That means which completely helps you in producing the product. These are production department. But your accounts and HR department are not your production department. Rather, accounts and HR is the service department, which is providing service to production department. They are not into production. Please keep in mind. Okay. Now, there will be few overheads. There will be few overheads which you can trace exactly to that particular department. For example, Department A manager salary, where it will go? Department A, right? Department B machinery depreciation, where it will go? Department B. Department C, let's say again electricity charge, or let's say electricity charges together it will come. If it all separate segment is kept for electricity, now electricity charges of department C, where it will go? Department C. Got it? Now accountant salary, where it will go? HR salary, where it will go? Now my question is, are these the overheads? The answer is yes, because these are no way related to particular product as such. Normal expenses, like general expenses. But can you trace it with any particular department? You traced it and you charged it. I'm not telling we can trace it with final product. If you're able to trace it with final product, that is your direct prime cost, direct cost. You're not able to trace it with final product, but you can trace it with the department. In these cases, we are determining the overheads of those particular departments. That thing we call it as allocation. What we call it as? Allocation. Now, rent will be there. Rent, electricity, insurance, heat and lighting, all those things will be there. Now, rent of the whole building is there. In that, only department A is there? No. Department B, only department B? No. Only department C? No. Only accounts? No. Only HR? No. All departments are there? No. Now, rent can you charge only to department A? Can you charge only to department B? No. Now, rent on some basis, floor area basis, or lighting points on floor area basis, or light point, etc. like that, I'm going to divide between different departments, that common expense. Now that activity we call it as apportionment. That means if at all anything which you can trace it with the final product, that is direct expense, direct charges, direct cost, prime cost, will charge it to product directly, but which you cannot trace it, that will be overhead. In that overhead again, which you can trace it with the particular department, that we will allocate to the particular department straight away. But which you cannot trace it with any particular department, but it is a common expense for many departments. When you divide it between the departments, that process we call it as apportionment. What we call it as? Apportionment. Got it? Now, this allocation plus apportionment is there, no? This thing we call it as primary distribution of overhead. What do we call it as? Primary distribution of overhead. After primary distribution, we got to know total overhead of each particular department. Yes or no? Now my question is, overhead of department A will be charged to where? Whatever the units produced under A. Overhead of department B will be charged where? Overall units produced in department B. Overhead of department C will be charged where? Whatever the units produced in department C. Accounts department will be produced where? Like charged where? Absorbed where? Can you charge it to anything in the accounts department? No, because accounts department not producing anything. Can you charge anything to HR department to the product? No, because HR department is not producing anything. Now, so can I ignore this? No. If I want to ignore this, I can ignore full overhead, no? I want to charge whatever I incur as an organization to my customer's product. That means this also should be charged. That's the reason what we will do. Accounts department, whatever is there, that will charge it to the production department. HR department, what is there, that I will charge it to the production department. That is service department overheads. As service department is not into production, you can't charge it to any final product directly. That's the reason we will transfer it back to, or we will apportion it to production department. Now this process of charging the service department overhead to the different production department, we call it as reapportionment. What do we call it as? Reapportionment. With love, we also call it as secondary distribution. What do you call it as? Secondary distribution. Got it? Now I know that overheads are only there in the department A, department B, department C. Now on some basis, it could be labor hour basis, machine hour basis, or percentage of wages, percentage of direct material. Somehow we are going to charge it to the final product. Now that process only we call it as what? Absorption. That process only we call it as what? Absorption. That's it. That's all about the overheads. Major thing. Understood now? So to sum it up, whatever we are going to charge to the final product, we can't charge only direct cost, prime cost. Of course, we should charge overheads also. Now charging of that overhead, we call it as absorption or charging or recovery. However, to recover the amount, you should know exactly how much to recover. To know exactly how much to recover, you should know in that particular department how much is the overheads. Now while determining particular department overhead, there will be few overheads which are directly chargeable to that particular department. That we call it as allocation. Few overheads will be there that you can't directly charge, but portion of that should go to this particular department also. That we call it as apportionment. But we know that when doing this, the overhead is allocated even to the service department. But service department is not into final production at all. That's the reason whatever is there in the service department, that should be charged to production department. That process we call it as reapportionment. Understood? Now, sometimes in the question, what do they do, you know, guys? Sometimes in the question, they will tell direct material, direct labor, direct expense. A, B, C, accounts department, HR department. Now, what to do with these direct material, direct labor, direct expense? Should I apportion or should I allocate it to the production departments? I should not do anything to the production department. Why? Because it's a direct cost. Direct cost will already be there in the prime cost of the product. Yes or no? So of course it's not overhead at all. We are discussing about the overhead allocation, overhead apportionment. These are not overheads at all. So of course I am going to treat it as a prime cost. So I am not going to treat it as overhead. If at all I am trying to determine the total overhead of any particular department, I am going to ignore this. But what about this service department, direct material, direct labor, direct expense? Same, no? End of the day, direct material, direct labor, direct expense, no? So it will be prime cost only, right? So what we should do? Ignore, The answer is no. Try to understand. Direct material, direct labor, direct expense means those expenses which you can trace it in the final product. In service department, what final product is there? In accounts department, what final product is there? In HR department, what final product is there? Max to max HR department do final product is Rangoli. Can you charge it on that? No, right? That means you cannot charge it to the final product in case of service department. That means for service department, it's overhead only. And you should allocate it because you know exactly how much to accounts department, how much to service department, I mean HR department, etc. So what you should do here? Allocate it. That means remember DMDLDE of the production department is a prime cost. It is not an overhead. So ignore it while computing total overheads. However, direct material, direct labor, direct expense of service department is not prime cost because there is no final product at all. So treat it as a overhead and allocate it to the service departments. Is that clear, everyone? Paka. Great. Then, now we discussed about all these things. Now, tell me one thing. Do we take the budgeted figures into consideration or do we take the actual figures into consideration? Budgeted figures, why?
Because when we quote the price to the customer, we will not know what actual.
Exactly. So listen here. Now when you guys joined ArivuPro, other than faculty cost, let's say faculty cost is direct cost. Let's say some portion of the student fees will go to faculty directly. Assume. Now, other than faculty cost, all other costs will be there, no? From Bangalore, they are sitting and setting up the classrooms. Here, lot of employees we have. Yes, different departments we have, managers we have. Many people are there. Yes or no? So their salary and all we have to pay, rent and all we have to pay, etc. Now, what do you think? We charge you faculty cost first. After the end of the batch, we charge you remaining overheads. No. What do? While quoting the price only, we quote you while quoting the fees only, in the beginning only, we collect everything. Now my question is, whether whatever we expect, for example, now let's say rent of this will be 50 lakhs per annum. Assume rent of this will be 50 lakhs and we are expecting to deal with 200 students. We are expecting. That means per student how much I will charge rent? 25,000. Now my question is whether rent, is there any rule that it should be exactly 50 lakh only? It might change. So rent generally it won't change. No, sorry, we have agreement. Okay. Rent might be having agreement. What about electricity fees, electricity charges? What about the salaries? Right? So all this exact amount you can't determine. Second, students might be less than 200. Students might be more than 200. Students might be less than 200. Students might be more than 200. That means now my question is, what you estimated, is it exactly matching? Now let's say actual expense what we incurred, actual overhead what we incurred, let's say it's around 52 lakhs. How much it is? By the way, this 25,000 per student we are planning to charge, no? This on budgeted basis. This one we call it as absorption rate. What do we call it as? Absorption rate. The amount what we decide to recover from the final product, that thing we call it as what? Absorption rate. Now we have to recover 25,000 from each and every student towards overheads. Now let's say 52 lakh is our actual overheads. 180 students came. That means how much do we recover or how much do we absorb? Sorry? We absorb 45 lakhs. We incurred how much, guys? 52 lakhs. That means 7 lakhs is what? 7 lakhs is under recovery, or you can call it as under absorption. 7 lakhs is under recovery, or we call it as 7 lakhs are under recovery. Is that clear? Hello? What if we get 220 students? Then how much do we recover? We recover 55 lakhs. How much we incurred? In that case, that 3 lakh we call it as over recovery or over absorption. Tell me which is favorable to ArivuPro, which is unfavorable to ArivuPro. Over recovery is favorable because we incurred less than what we recovered. It's good, no? Whereas under recovery is adverse. Now, how to deal with this? Do you think we will call students and ask, when it is 180 students, do you think we call them and ask, see 7 lakhs we under recovered, please pay us this extra money? No. First place, if we call, you receive? No. Correct, no? But over recovery will receive. But are we mad to give it? No. It is, see boss, we estimated 200, 220. That means that 20 students came because of our goodwill. Why we should pay to you? Yes or no? Now, then how to deal with this? Of course, collection from customers as well as repayment to customers is not a point at all. That means whatever we are going to discuss is about how to treat it in the books of accounts, in the cost books. Whatever the extra or less is there, no? How to deal with that in the books we are discussing. Please keep in mind. In the books. Hope it's clear. That I will tell in a later part how to deal with that. Treatment of under absorption, over absorption. Generally in examination, they once in a while they keep asking this. Okay. Now I hope you guys got some idea about this whole chapter. And also, rather than charging it on department basis, I don't charge it on department basis, rather I will charge it on machine basis. I don't charge it on department basis, rather I will charge it on what basis? Machine basis. That one we call it as machine rate. I don't divide the overheads in department basis, rather I will divide it on machine basis. That is machine rate. So these are the few aspects what is there in the overheads chapter. So if you want me to sum up the whole chapter, whatever is there, we have allocation, absorption, and allocation, apportionment, reapportionment, absorption. One group. One more absorption method only, that is machine hour rate. 2. Treatment of under absorption, over absorption. 3. Fourth one is your capacity. Capacity based questions. That's it. These are the 4. Actually, many students think this overhead is bit lengthy, blah, 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 blah. Nothing is there in this, to be frank. Only these 4 things are there. The only thing is, we will not be having idea about why we are doing that If you don't have idea about why you are doing that, how to do it, you do it 100 times, still it will be uncomfortable only. Correct? No? I hope now you understood why this overheads chapter is all about. Guys, overhead, we can classify it on the basis of function, on the basis of nature, on the basis of element, on the basis of control. Functional basis, we can classify it into manufacturing, production or factory, one, office and administration, selling and distribution. Whereas nature basis, we can divide it into fixed variable, semi-variable. Element basis, indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expense. Control basis, the cost which is in the control of the management, controllable. The cost which is not in the control of the respective management, uncontrollable. For example, rent. Can a management control it? No, uncontrollable. What are the steps involved in the overheads? First, you should estimate. I told you we will take the budgeted data because we can't wait till the end, right? So estimation of overhead, then we will allocate it, then we will apportion it, then we will reapportion it, at last we will absorb it. Got it? So cost allocation means what, guys? Allocation refers to the direct assignment of cost to a cost object which can be traced directly. It implies relating overhead directly to the various departments. Whereas cost apportionment is there are some items of estimated overheads which cannot be directly allocated to the various department and cost centers. By the way, departments we call it as cost centers also. Cost center is nothing but a particular thing for which the cost will be determined. Cost center. Such unallocable expenses are to be spread over the various departments or cost center. This is known as. What is the difference between allocation and apportionment? Allocation deals with the whole item of cost which are identifiable with only one department, whereas apportionment deals with the proportion of the items of the cost, that is different departments. It is direct process of charging expense to different cost centers. It is indirect process because there is need to the identification of the appropriate portion of expense to be borne by the different departments benefited. And different expense, how can you charge? There is a list, okay? I mean, this is not a like complete list. Of course, some item might come here and there, that when you see the question, you will understand on what basis you should divide, okay? But however, in the question, if at all nothing is there, on what basis we will divide it, generally guys, you should check whether that particular department's machine intensive or labor intensive. If it's a machine intensive, then those general expenses you divide on machine hour basis. If it is labor intensive, then divide it on labor hour basis. If the question may labor hours are not there, then you can divide it on direct wages basis. Okay, general things always remember, absorption or allocation or apportionment. Generally we'll prioritize machine hours, then followed by labor hours and labor wages. What is reapportionment? Upon the last stage, all overheads are allocated and apportioned to all the department, both production and service department. Service department are those departments which do not directly take part in the production of goods or producing services. The overheads of these departments are shared by the production department, since service departments operate primarily for the purpose of providing service to the production department. Got it? The process of assigning service department overheads to the production department is called as what, guys? Reassignment or reapportionment or secondary distribution. Again, the different ratios are there that we will see later. Now, while reapportioning, what ratio we should take, sir? To which department we should apportion what? Guys, there are different methods for it. One is direct redistribution method. One more is step method or non-reciprocal method. One more is reciprocal method. In the reciprocal method, again we have three: simultaneous equation, Trial and error, repeated distribution method. What is this, sir? Listen, guys. Now let's say production department XYZ is there. Service department S1, S2, S3 is there. Production department XY is there. Service department S1, S2, S3 is there. Now, overhead as per primary distribution. That means allocation plus apportionment. Correct? Overhead as per primary distribution, allocation plus apportionment. Of course, overhead will be there for all the departments, including service departments. Correct? Okay. Now, we have to apportion or reapportion service department S1 overheads to the different production department X, Y, and Z. Correct? Now we should check whether any of the service department providing service to the other service department. Let's say we understood that no service department is providing service to the other service department. That means here we know that it is stranger department. No service department is related. All the service department, whatever is there, everything shall be charged to the production departments only. Need not be to all the production departments again. In this scenario, guys, now the service department overheads will become nil and only overheads will be there in the production department. Correct? Now this one we call it as direct redistribution. What do we call it as? Direct redistribution. However, sometimes what happens, there will be one-sided love. Correct? No? What is that one-sided love? One service department provides service to the other service department, but other service department won't reciprocate it. Won't reciprocate it. For example, S1 loves S2. For safety purpose, S3 also. Now, S1 will provide service to S2, S1 will provide service to S3. That means whatever the overhead is there, no, in S1, that will be production department, any of it will be there. Along with that, it will be there for S2 and S3. Now, overhead of S2 and S3 increased. Now, S2 loves S3, but not S1. That means S2 is not reciprocating. That means whatever the overhead of S2 is there, no, that is reapportioned to S3 also along with the production departments. Got it? Hello? Now, talking about S3, S2 is nil, S1 is nil now, S3 will have some overhead. Now S3 is baddie, full, independent. Correct? So S3 won't love S1 also, S2 also. That means S3 is non-reciprocating the service. Moral of the story, whatever is there in the S3, that will get allocated only to the production department. Now, overhead of the service department became nil. Production department has overheads. This kind of things we call it as non-reciprocal method. What do we call it as? Non-reciprocal method, or we call it as step method. What do we call it as? Step method. Is that clear? Hello? Anyone? Any doubt? Okay. Now what if S1 provides service to S2, S2 provides service to S3, S3 provides service to S1. Reciprocal or non-reciprocal? How? Huh? There is no again back. I told S1 will provide to S2. Did I say S3 also? S1 providing service to S2. S2 providing service to S3. S3 providing service to S1. Non-reciprocal. No department is providing service to other department. Correct? S1 providing service to S2, S3. S2 providing service only to S3. But S3 is providing service to S1 also. Reciprocal, non-reciprocal? Reciprocal. That means even one particular department reciprocates. It's not that all the three should reciprocate. One single service department reciprocates. Still, we should follow reciprocal method, not non-reciprocal method. Is that clear? And in the non-reciprocal method, guys, the order of writing this is very important, the departments. It's not in the order what they have given in the question. No. This will be decided on the basis of maximum number of service provided to the other service department. Here I wrote S1 first. The reason is S1 provides service to S2 and S3, two service departments. P1, P2, P3, any production department you leave, that will be there. Only to decide this, only service department we will consider. S2 I wrote second because that provides service to one other service department. S3 I wrote last because that won't provide service to any other service department. So first we should write those department which provide service to maximum number of service department, followed by bit less, followed by bit less. Is that clear? Any doubts? No. Now full jatre. What is that? Two-sided love story, three-sided love story, everything. One situationship, one relationship. S1, S2, S3. Now service department S1 provides service to S2 as well as S3. S2 provides service to S1 as well as S3. But S3 provides service to only S1. Okay? S3 is loyal. S1 and S2 is not. Now listen. When S1 provides service to S2 and S3 also it provides, so I should distribute overhead there. Now S1 became nil, S2 has some value, S3 has some value. Now S2 I will distribute. To this department as well as S1 and S3. Moral of the story, S1 is again restored. Correct? Now S3 we will distribute. Production departments S1 nothing to S2. That means this became nil. Now again this I will distribute S2, S3. That means it keeps on going, right? We should keep on doing this until all service department thing will become negligible value. Negligible value. Till we will do this. This is your reciprocal. Under reciprocal, now what I told is repeated redistribution method. We keep on redistributing till it reaches some negligible value. Okay? Some negligible value. Now, sir, how to decide which is negligible value? That is your personal judgment. But we recommend whenever it goes below 1 rupee, stop it. Okay. Now, this is one method. Second method is your trial and error method. What is this trial and error method, sir? Guys, we don't take the production department first. We take, let's say, whenever there are more than one service department, more than two service department in reciprocal, go for repeated redistribution. Whenever it is not, then you can go for, that means only when two service departments are given, you can go for trial and error or simultaneous. When three are there, don't go for it because you have to solve a lot of equations. S1 and S2. Okay, let's say only S1 and S2 is there. They have some overhead. S1 will provide some portion to S1. Correct? Now, S1 will provide some portion to S2. Now again S2 will provide some portion to S1. Again S1 will provide some portion to S2. Like this, only service department will take. Finally, that will become negligible value. Then S1 total, S2 total. S1 total in some proportion charged to XYZ production department. S2 portion in some proportion charged to XYZ. Now this method we call it as trial and error method. That means in simple, rather than showing it in one table, we are showing it in two different tables. Understood? Hello?
Yes.
But always remember, whenever you are charging this, absorbing this, please take the percentages and not ratios. All other method you should go for ratios because full amount of overhead should get distributed. But in case of trial and error as well as simultaneous equation method, go for the percentages and not the ratios. Because whatever the total here coming, no, that is not the total overhead. That is, we redistributed the same amount again and again and again. That means full amount should not get distributed. If at all we take ratios, then full amount will get distributed. No, that should not happen. That's the reason we should go for percentages rather than ratios in case of trial and error as well as simultaneous equation method. When we see the sum, we will understand it. Now, how this simultaneous equation will work, sir? Now, let's say S1 has overhead of 10 lakh. Okay. S2 has overhead of 8 lakh. This is as per primary distribution. This is as per primary distribution. Secondary distribution, they say that S1 will provide 20% service to S2. S2 will provide 10% service to S1. I repeat again, S1 will provide 20% to S2. S2 will provide 10% to S1. That means overhead of S1 is not only 10 lakh, guys. Overhead of S1 is 10 lakh as per primary distribution. But once we go for secondary distribution, portion of S2 also will come. No, how much? 10% of S2, which is wrong. You will understand why. Because overhead of S2 is not 8 lakh. Overhead of S2 is 8 lakh plus 20% of S1, which is wrong. Because S1 it's not 10 lakh, it's 10 lakh plus something.
But 0.2.
Yeah, we should take that.
0.2 S1.
See, S1 is there, no?
There will be some S1 and S2.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Now S1 is equal to 10 lakh.
S1 is equal to 10 lakh plus 20%, sorry, 10% of S2. I don't know how much is S2. So I will take overhead of S2 as S2. Then it will be 0.1 S2. S2 is there, no? That is 0.2 S1. We'll take this way. Okay. To reduce the confusion, overhead of S1, I will take it as A. Overhead of S2, I will take it as B. Then A is equal to 10 lakh plus 10% of overhead of S2, which is B. B, that is overhead of S2 is 8 lakh plus 20% of A. Understood? Now, we will equate this in either 1 in 2 or 2 in 1. And we will solve it. That is, let's say, we'll equate 2 in 1. That is, B we are going to replace with in equation number A. So, A is equal to 10 lakh plus 0.1. B is what? 8 lakh plus 0.2 A. Now, A is equal to 10 lakh plus 80,000 plus 0.02 A. A minus 0.02 A is equal to 10 lakh 80,000. Guys, 0.98. In Josh, in examination, in urgency, don't write it as 0.8 gone. 0.98 A is equal to 10 lakh 80,000. A is equal to 11 lakh 2,000. 41 or 40? 41. Okay. This will be your A. Correct? Can you tell me how much will be your B? B will be 8 lakh plus 0.2 of this 11 lakh 2041. Ten lakh 20,000 408. This will be B. Correct? Now, guys, we know that our total overhead is 18 lakh. Service department total overhead is how much? 18 lakh. Here, how much it is coming? $21 lakh 22,449. That means, should this full amount of 21 lakh 22,449 be charged to the production department? No. That's the reason I told you, don't take the ratio. If you take the ratio, full amount will be distributed. Correct? So don't take the ratio. You should take the percentages. What do you mean by that, sir? A, that is S1 is providing 20% to S2, no? That means only 80% of this should get distributed to production department. How much will be the 80% of this? 8,81,000. 633. 632.8, 633. And we know that department B, S2 is providing 10% to S1. That means only 90% should go to production department. How much it is? 9 lakh 18,367. May I know the total? Understood? Now to the production department, will 21 lakh 22,000 will go or will 18 lakh go? Which should go? That's the reason, guys. In case of trial and error and simultaneous equation, whatever the total you get, that is not the actual overhead. That is again and again and again we are doing the redistribution. That's why we are getting the total. Understood? So that is not the actual overhead. That's the reason in case of simultaneous equation or trial and error, you should go for percentages. Don't take the ratios. Whereas in all other cases, full amount should get distributed. Otherwise, the amount will be hanging in that particular department. That should not happen. That's the reason in all other cases, you should go for ratios. Hope it is clear. Understood or no? Great. Now this is your secondary distributions. Anyone, any doubt in the methods of secondary distribution? Now, guys, what do you mean by absorption? Absorption is the process of recovering overhead of the department or any other cost center from its output, right? It's called as recovery or absorption. Guys, overhead, if at all you divide it on the basis of variability, variable as well as fixed, in that case, variable overhead to be absorbed on actual production capacity, please keep in mind, variable overhead absorption recovery rate should be computed on actual production capacity percentage, whereas fixed overhead recovery rate to be absorbed as normal capacity production capacity. Got it? So remember, variable overhead absorption rate to be computed by considering actual production capacity, fixed manufacturing overhead that to be absorbed by considering normal production capacity. Please keep in mind. Now, what do you mean by, or what are the methods of absorption of overheads, sir? Shall we see the different methods, guys? Now let's say we have an organization, direct material 10 lakh we are consuming, direct labor 8 lakh we are considering. It could be budgeted or it could be actual, whatever it is, generally it will be budgeted. Okay, how did you arrive at 8, sir? It is 80,000 hours of labor, 80,000 hours of labor at 10 rupees. Okay, now I will assume there is no direct expense as such, so it will give you prime cost, which is 18 lakhs. That we will add the overhead. Let's assume overhead is around 9 lakh. Overhead is around 9 lakh. So you will get your total cost as 27 lakhs. You will get your total cost as how much, guys? 27 lakhs. Is that clear? Now we are doing one job. This is for the whole organization. Please keep in mind. Now we are doing one job. That particular job, direct material, guys, let's say it takes around 20,000. It takes around 20,000. Direct wages, let's say it's taking around 100 hours, and actually we are paying them 15 rupees per hour, which is coming to 1,500. Got it? That will give you prime cost. How much? 21,500. Now, as I already told you in the job costing, also now, only prime cost can I charge to customers? No, I should recover my overhead also. But how much? Labor hour. Done. See, we have different methods for absorption. Method number 1, as a percentage of direct material. What is that, sir? Whole organization, guys, how much was the overhead? 9 lakh. How much was the direct material of the whole organization? That means, can I say that overhead is 90% of direct material? Yes. If at all I apply that method, then your overhead will be recovered as 20,000 into 90%, 18,000. So total cost of this will come to 39,500. This is method number 1. Anyone in doubt? Method number 2, shall we go? Method number 2, overhead as a percentage of direct wages. Overhead as a percentage of direct wages. Guys, how much is overhead? 9 lakh. How much is direct wages? 8 lakhs. How many percentage? 112.5 percentage of direct wages. In that case, overhead we are going to charge is 1500 into 112.5%. Got it? Which would come to 23,187 point. Got it? One more method we have is percentage of prime cost. Percentage of prime cost. How much is overheads? 9 lakh. How much is prime cost? 18 lakh. 50 percentage of prime cost. In that case, here overhead would be 50% of 21,500, 10,750. Total cost would come to 32,250. Is that clear? Anyone any doubt in this? No doubt? We'll proceed then. Next. As a labor hour rate, that is, how much is the overhead here? 9 lakh. How many hours of labor I told? 80,000. That means per hour how much? Don't do into 100.
11.25.
Got it? Now, how many hours of labor I am using here? 100 hours. 100 into 11.25. 1,125. Which is gonna be 22,625. 22,625. Is that clear? Hello? Done. Hope you understood in this case. Also, we can charge it on machine hour rate basis, just like labor hour rate basis. For that, we are going in depth later. But yeah, you understood this? Now, which one to select, sir? Guys, question number 1. Like, which one to select? If at all they tell in the question, this should be the absorption rate, go for it. If that is not the case, then first you should check whether it is labor intensive or machine intensive. If it is machine intensive, then absorb it at the rate of machine hour rate. If it's a labor intensive, first priority give it to labor hour rate. First priority in the sense that too when you don't have different labors of different cost. Only one type of labor is there, etc. Single rate is there. That time you go for labor hour rate. Otherwise you go for percentage of direct wages. If at all we have the labor of different rates, of course we can't take the labor hour, every labor hour is same, right? Different labor involve different rate. That's the reason. In that case, we can straight away go for percentage of direct wages. And one more method is there, that is unit method. What is that, sir? Let's say here we plan to produce 2000 units. Okay, that means per unit we plan to recover how much? 9 lakh divided by 2000. 450. Here let's say which produced 4 units. Then we will recover 450 into 4,800. This is your unit method or output method. Okay, these are the different methods of absorption of overhead. Is that clear? Anyone any doubt? Sir, overheads PDF, it's already uploaded, no, in Drive. Oh, it's not yet uploaded. Give me a second. Anyhow, by the time we start the sum, you will get it. I've shared, you will get it in a while, okay? We'll proceed, guys. Now listen. Machine hour rate. What is this machine hour rate, sir? Machine hour rate implies cost of running machine for an hour to produce a goods. And we can compute it in two ways. One is direct machine hour rate. One more is comprehensive machine hour rate. What is this direct machine hour rate? Now let's say there is one department, cost center. There is one department, or you can call it as cost center, which incurs the cost. In that, let's say there are 4 machines. Now when you determine cost per running these machines, that only is your machine hour rate, that only we are going to charge to final product. Listen, direct machine hour rate means what we do, we take only and only direct cost of these machines. Only and only direct cost of these machines. That is your fuel, depreciation, insurance of machine, right? Insurance of machine, repairs and maintenance of machine, setup cost of machine. Like this, only the direct cost relating to that particular machine, only that I will take. In that case, we call it as direct machine hour rate. However, now my question is, where this machine is located? Inside the factory, correct? That means, don't you think the space of factory, whatever the cost we are incurring, although directly we are not incurring, but indirectly it's relating to this machine only. That's the reason what we will do, this rent of this much space, electricity of this much space, supervisor salary relating to supervision of this area, your wages of your machine operator, all those things will be there. No, those things also will add along with these direct expenses. In that case, that we call it as comprehensive machine hour rate. That is, it includes all the expenses related to machine, whether it's direct or indirect. Whereas direct machine hour rate, it includes only those expenses which are directly associated with the machine. This will be numerator. Denominator will be what, sir? Denominator will be your effective machine hours. Denominator will be effective machine hours, not total machine hours. Please keep in mind. That is, let's say 10,000 hours are available. In that, normal loss, let's say 1,000 hours you can't work due to setup time, etc., etc. That means I can recover whatever I incurred in 9,000 hours. No, so I should charge denominator as 9,000. So denominator should be effective machine hour. Effective machine hour. Is that clear? Pakka? Any doubts? Sir, if the question is silent, which one we follow? If the question is silent, we follow comprehensive machine hour rate. Because we don't want to charge that cost center, whatever is unallocated expense, again as one more override rate. Rather add it to the machine and charge it as a machine hour rate. That is the best way to do it. Got it? So what are the steps involved, sir? Step number 1, calculate the total overhead apportioned to particular production department, that is cost center. 2, then divide it into different machines. 3, allocate machine specific cost. That means your direct cost plus indirect cost. Then estimate the total productive hours of the machine. 5, aggregate the overheads of step number 2 and step number 3. That is your share of common expense plus direct machine related expense. And finally, you divide it with your total productive hours, that is effective machine hours. Then you will get machine hour rate. Got it? Now guys, types of overhead rate, we have 4 different type of overhead rates. Not method of absorption, it is type of overhead rate. One is normal rate. What do you mean by this normal rate, sir? To determine the absorption rate here, we take the actual overhead and we divide it with the actual base. What do you mean by actual base? It could be percentage of material, percentage of labor, anything. If you take labor hours, then denominator is labor hours. So here you are going to consider actual labor hours. Next one is your predetermined rate, as the name suggests. And also we use this widely. That is, here the absorption rate is computed on the budgeted data. That is, in the numerator we will take the budgeted overhead, and in the denominator we will take the budgeted base. It could be budgeted labor hour, budgeted machine hour, budgeted material cost, whatever it is. Next one we have is blanket rate. Before blanket rate, try to understand what departmental rate is. Here for department A, department B, department C, I calculated different absorption rate and accordingly I absorbed. Correct? No? But rather than charging different rates for A, B and C, all the department together I will add the overhead and together I will add the base and I will calculate the rate. If that is the case, we call it as blanket rate. Rather than calculating the overhead rate for the separate departments, we are going to total the overhead of all the departments, that is whole factory, and then divide it by one single base. That we call it as blanket rate. Which one is better, guys? Departmental rate is always better. Why, sir? A could be labor intensive. B could be machine intensive. Department C could be material based. That means absorption rate of A should be calculated on what basis? Machine hour basis. Department B, labor hour basis. Department C, percentage of material. Correct? But if you go for blanket rate, what you will do? You will take the total overhead denominator. Either you will take machine hour, either you will take labor hour, either you will take percentage of material. You can't take all the three. Yes or no? That means out of that a portion will be correct, remaining portion will be wrong absorption. Correct? That's the reason always remember departmental rates are always prioritized and better. However, blanket rate will be good only when whole factory has the same base. That is, everything is labor hours only. Everything is machine hours only. In that case, it makes sense. Otherwise, it is always advised to go for departmental rate by considering different base. Is that clear? Pakka? Okay. Next, treatment of your underabsorption, treatment of your overabsorption. Remember, guys, underabsorption means what? Your absorbed amount is lesser than actual overhead, not budgeted overhead. Budgeted overhead is there just to compute the absorption rate, nothing else. So you are going to compare how much I incurred and how much I recovered. If at all you recovered less, that is absorbed less, we call it as underabsorption. You recovered more, you absorb more, we call it as overabsorption. Now, treatment of underabsorption, overabsorption. Guys, if at all the difference between underabsorption or the amount of underabsorption or overabsorption is small amount, then whatever the difference is there, don't worry, don't think much and all. You're not much misleading your users. Straight away charge it to costing P&L. However, if the amount is not small, then you should check why the underabsorption or overabsorption is coming. Reason could be two: normal reasons, abnormal reasons. Normal reasons are what, sir? Increase in the prices, increase in the material, increase in the labor cost, increase in the other overheads, etc. Due to that, right? One is due to normal increase. One more is, boss, what you estimated, that itself is wrong. Rent of this building was supposed to be estimated 60 lakh. You are like, you estimated 6 lakh. Imagine this building for 6 lakh, who will give? right? So estimation itself is wrong, or it's completely management's fault. Like that, few indirect things will be there. Now, whatever your indirect things, whatever your abnormal things are there, wrong estimation, management's fault, any other abnormal reasons, straight away charge it to costing P&L. Costing P&L. However, if it is due to normal increase in the price of the market or any other reasons, then guys, what you should do, you should not charge it to costing P&L. Rather, you should book it to the different expenses. You should book it to the different expenses. What do you mean by that? Booking it to the different expenses. Guys, sold units will be there, no? Those sold units will be there in the cost of sales. The cost of sold units will be there in the cost of sales. Closing stock will be there, no? Cost of closing stock will be there in the finished stock account. Cost of closing WIP will be there in the WIP account. I repeat again. Cost of goods sold will be there in the COS account, cost of sales account. Cost of finished goods will be there in the finished goods account. Cost of closing WIP will be there in the WIP account. Accordingly, you guys have to give adjustment to these things. Okay? How, sir? Listen, guys, how to calculate supplementary rate. Let's say budgeted overhead rupees 10 lakh and budgeted output 1 lakh units. 1 lakh units. Actual overhead, let's say rupees 12 lakh. Okay. Whereas actual output 90,000 units. Now, in this, under absorption or over absorption, we have to calculate. Before calculating, first we have to calculate the absorption rate. Absorption rate will be computed on budgeted data. That is 10 lakh divided by 1 lakh. Per unit, we thought of charging 10 rupees. And of course, you will absorb from actual output. I estimated 200 students, but only 180 came. From how many students I can recover? 180 students. So, my absorbed overhead is 9 lakh. My absorbed overhead is how much? 9 lakh. My actual overhead is how much? Got it? Now, can I say that rupees 3 lakh is under absorption? Under absorption is 3 lakh. Can I say this? Now, this 3 lakh, let me divide it into two portions. Let me divide it into two portions. Which are those, sir? Let's say out of this, 40% is due to management's fault or defective planning, etc. Whereas remaining 60% is due to increase in the prices of material and labor. That means 40% of this, which is 1,20,000, which is abnormal, I will charge it to costing P&L. Also, it's under absorption loss. That means I should debit my costing P&L. Got it? For this 180,000, I should calculate the supplementary rate. How to calculate the supplementary rate? Guys, listen. How many units I told? Actual output? 90,000, no? 90,000, no? Let's assume there is 5,000 units in the WIP. 5,000 units in a WIP. Towards overhead, that is 50% complete. Towards overhead, that is 50% complete. And out of this 90,000, 80,000 is sold. 80,000 is sold. Now listen. Guys, your overhead is relating to production of how many units?
90,000.
Not 90,000.
85.
Nope. Awesome. You should tell me the count now, 1 lakh units. Guys, listen. You produce 90,000 finished goods. Yes or no? Board. No, you see board. 90,000. Done. Also, 5,000 WIP is there, no? Which is 50% complete. How it got 50% complete? We have given enough direct material, enough direct labor, enough overhead. That means, can I say that this 5,000 consumed overhead equivalent to 2,500 units? Can I say that or no? That means overhead whatever we consumed, it's not relating to 90,000 units. It's relating to 90,000 plus 2,500. Total 92,500 units. Got it? That means this 1,80,000 I should recover from 92,500 units. 1.95, yeah? Okay, now listen. Out of that 90,000, 80,000 was sold during the period. That means 80,000 units. This will go to cost of sale. How much? 80,000 into 1.95. 1,55,000. That's it. 55,675, yeah. 1 depends on whether you have taken 1.95, all those things, whatever it is. Your COS account to be debited with this portion. Rounding off thing. For the time being, ignore it. Done. Next, 10,000 is there in the finished goods account. Closing stock of finished goods. So you charge 10,000 to these things. That is, finished goods account will be debited in this case. Got it? And 2,500, sir, 5,000, but equivalent to 2,500, no? That is there in the WIP account. So 2,500 into 1.95. Sorry? 870? This will go to WIP control account. Got it? If at all it's over absorption, I would have credited these accounts. As it's under absorption, I'm charging to these accounts. Rather than booking everything to costing P&L, I'm going to charge it to these respective accounts. Got it? Hello? If the opening stock is there, please keep in mind that you should exclude. For example, let's say opening stock of finished goods is there, 10,000 units, produced during the year, 90,000. Opening stock of WIP is there, 5,000, which is already 80% complete. That means to my denominator and closing stock of WIP, let's say 10,000 units are there, which are 50% complete. That means try to understand whatever the overhead I am incurring during the period, not to produce 90,000, because in that 90,000, 10,000 was already produced, right? That means to produce 80,000 finished goods, plus in this 80,000 also I didn't produce full, because 5,000 was already in production. Of that, already 4,000 kind of is done. That means it took only resource equivalent to 1,000. That means out of this 80,000, 5,000 is such a way that it consumed only resource equivalent to 1,000. That means it is 76,000. Not only so much, In this 10,000 equivalent, 5,000 units is also produced during the period, which is not included there. In denominator, you should take 81,000. Like that. That means just make sure in denominator you will take which is equivalent to produced during the period. Whatever was already produced, which is including those many units, exclude it. Whatever is not completely produced, but portion is used, add it. Like that. That is the opening stock adjustment. Very rare case. So far it didn't come, but anyhow in regular class we have discussed in depth about it. Just go and check your notes. You will understand it. Now I am not going to take you through that thing. Listen. Treatment of under or over recovery. Small difference, costing P&L. Large difference, find out whether it's due to increase of the price in the market or any other normal reasons, or due to wrong estimation, management fault, or any other abnormal reason. If at all due to abnormal reason, straight away charge it to costing P&L. However, if at all it is due to normal reasons, then calculate the supplementary rate and charge it to the cost of sales relating to sold units, finished goods account relating to closing stock, and WIP account relating to closing stock of WIP. Find out the supplementary rate. How to find out, sir? Over or under recovered amount divided by units produced. Units produced means what, guys? Total units produced is units sold plus closing stock of finished goods minus opening stock of finished goods plus equivalent units of WIP. How to arrive at equivalent units of WIP? Units of WIP multiplied with percentage of completion. Is that clear? Hello?
Yes.
And one more thing you have to remember, while computing actual cost of overhead, abnormal cost like amount payable due to an award of labor court, that is judgment of labor court, expense of previous period booked during the current period, all those things will be there, no? Obsolescence, etc. All those things should not be taken in the actual at all. For example, I told 12 lakh, right? In the 12 lakh, let's assume 50,000 is due to obsolescence. Obsolescence. Guys, that means for comparison, the amount you should take is only 11 lakh 50,000. Here, actual overhead 12 lakh I told, no? You compared 9 lakh and 12 lakh, right? But if at all, out of 12 lakh, if 50,000 was due to obsolescence, you should have compared only 11 lakh 50. Because that 50,000, anyhow it will go to costing P&L. That need not be analyzed at all. Or 20,000 due to labor strike. Then all you should take is 11 lakh 80,000. Understanding? So all these things you should keep in mind while doing that. Now, last topic, that is types of capacity. We have installed capacity or rated capacity. It's also called as theoretical capacity. That is, this is the capacity which practically we can't achieve at all. These are the capacities practically we can't achieve. Practically we can't achieve. For example, whenever we buy any machine, that person told, you can run this machine every day for 20 hours. All the 365 days you can run. So 20 into 365? 7,300. That is your installed capacity. But do you think practically you can run for 20 hours? Do you think you can run for 365 days? Holidays will come, etc. will come. No. So like that, planned holidays, planned setup, etc. If you reduce from that, what you get is called as practical capacity. That is practically how much I can achieve. I am not telling how much we achieved. I am telling how much we can achieve. Okay. That one we call it as practical capacity. Normal capacity is also just like practical capacity only, but on the basis of trend. That is, for so many years, we'll be having the trend. Like 3-4 years, capacity will be there. That if we take average of that, that will give us normal capacity. Got it? Now, theoretical capacity and difference between your practical normal and theoretical capacity. That is nothing but your normal idle capacity. For example, your person who sold the machine, he told you can produce 10 lakh units in a year. But after taking holidays, setup time, everything into consideration, normal things, you got to know that you can produce 7 lakh 50. That means that 2 lakh 50,000 you are not able to produce. That we call it as idle. It's not used, idle. And that capacity we call it as normal idle capacity. Why? This is not due to abnormal reasons. Normally you can't achieve it. Normal idle capacity. Is that clear? Practical capacity or normal capacity, whatever it could be, depending upon question to question to question. Now, this is clear, no? Now listen. But during the year, due to strike, abnormal reasons, etc., we are able to produce only 6 lakh units. Now that 6 lakh units is your actual capacity. 6 lakh units is your actual capacity. That means try to understand, you thought you are going to produce 10 lakh units. You actually produced 6 lakh. Now this 4 lakh is your total idle capacity. In that 4 lakh, 2 lakh 50 is normal idle capacity. Because you know that due to planned things. Whereas other 1 lakh 50 is there now. Where you planned 7 lakh 50, you are able to work only for 6 lakh units. Now that 1 lakh 50 is your abnormal idle capacity. That will be your abnormal idle capacity. Got it? Hope you guys understood. Difference between your theoretical capacity and normal or practical capacity depends on question to question to question. That difference we call it as normal idle capacity. Whereas from your normal capacity or practical capacity, when you match it with the actual capacity, the difference we will call it as abnormal idle capacity. Hope it is clear. With that, we have completed our overheads theory. Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll take a break of 15 minutes and we'll proceed. Is it? Okay, 20 minutes. Happy. 20. Happy. Because if I take also, any of you guys won't concentrate. Those people will be walking in and around. Tarnisha will come to meet you. That lady will come to meet her, Niveda. So, and because of those two, whole class will be seeing there. Fine. We'll take a break of 20 minutes. 20 minutes is fine, right? 10:33, break till 10:53, 10:54, we are starting.